everybody. ScouseCaspaXS asked me to give her some impressions on a video that she did concerning a letter that she got from somebody. To the person who wrote to Caspa, I understand you're having a hell of a time with the beliefs of your parents, school figures, peer group. It seems like your biggest problem is you have one of these, which is fine, but the problem seems to be that you plan on actually using yours, which tends to confound some people. The teen years are a real pain in the ass. When you're a teenager, you're growing out of the mold that people built for you in the past. Problem now is that it just doesn't fit anymore. You're starting to have your own thoughts, your own opinions on topics, starting to think for yourself rather than just accept ideas lock, stock, and barrel. There's a word for people like you. Yeah, you're normal. Well, except for that using the brain thing. I know as a parent, this takes a lot of getting used to. A parent grows accustomed to what a child is like at one point, and then they change. Things they couldn't do before, now all of a sudden they can do them for themselves. It's one thing when they learn to walk and to talk or to put their own clothes on. All that time, before they become a teen, all that time they're listening to and just following instructions. And you get used to them just listening and following instructions. It's a totally different thing to deal with when they start thinking for themselves, and it takes a hell of a lot more getting used to, especially when they have opinions of their own and when they ask questions like, yeah, that, especially if the parent doesn't know why. When it comes to belief, especially if it's being thrown at you, I think it helps to try to separate the beliefs from the people who are surrounding you. I understand you're really chafing under the stuff people are throwing at you, but one thing to do is ask yourself what you're rejecting. Are you rejecting some of the beliefs, the belief as a whole, or the way it's being forced on you, whichever. One example I remember was trying to come to grips with the concept of hell. The church always said an unrepentant murderer goes to hell, but murder is a finite crime. It causes a finite amount of suffering to a victim. Whether they cause that pain to one person or 100 people or 1,000 people, the fact is that there's a finite amount of suffering that they've caused to other people. Why would there be an infinite punishment for a finite crime? I asked, but I never got a good answer to that. Anyway, the thing to remember here is the most important person in the process is you. At any rate, after all this, after a period of reflection on what you think, you're going to decide for yourself what's important to you. You might decide that your beliefs are similar on some things or different on other things. You're unsure about them at all, or you just don't believe any of it. You could fit anywhere in a continuum, anywhere on that pie there, or you could become more interested in some other belief system. In my own opinion, in my own experiences, the one thing to avoid is jumping from one peer group to another peer group just as an act of rebellion. Decide for yourself based on what's important to you. Regardless of where you end up being with your own thoughts and beliefs, you're still stuck in a weird position from the way you've described it. Strangely, one of the things that actually helps is understanding them better. It's interesting to me that a few of the atheists that I know on YouTube and elsewhere are extremely well versed in biblical history. They know the material better than most of the Christians who accept it blindly without thinking about it. They're not believers, but they're experts at what it is they don't believe, strange as that may seem. Sometimes I think it helps to investigate their beliefs and understand them, where they come from. This is a completely different thing from believing them. You can understand somebody's point of view while totally rejecting it. I remember investigating why Catholicism had rules against contraceptives, even for married couples. When I took a look at their reasoning for it and found out what their reasoning was for, I found it was based on some pretty flawed reasoning. And, at least in my case, knowing that somehow helped me deal with it. I still thought it was nonsense, but at least I had a better idea of why it was nonsense. Fortunately, even though today may be a royal pain in the butt for you, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You're 15 years old now? So in 3 years, you'll be out on your own, and be free to use this thing for what it was intended. Looking to beyond that 18-year mark, this is your path. Yours. Not mine, not Scouse's, not everybody else's, not your parents or anybody else. Yours. You decide what your path is going to be. The hell with what anybody else thinks. In the meantime, over the next couple of years, things might be a pain in the butt. One thing that I looked at while I was doing a Google search on this was looking at the term teen coping. I got a lot of hits on that. It's in a lot of different situations. I don't know what your specific situation is. Some of those links might be useless, but some of them, you might find some more information there on getting through the next couple of years. Whatever you do, don't think you have to go it alone. Whatever is on those links, see what's out there, see if any of it resonates with you. Talk to other folks here on YouTube, talk to people who can share some of your ideas, and try to ignore the trolls and some of the obnoxious people. They're not important anyway. Anyway, I hope some of that ramble helps in some way. Take care.